That's a really reckless start to it. Yeah, there's an orientation. I never had.
Uhuru! Uhuru!
Uhuru.
All right, I'm gonna do it one more time. Uhuru!
Uhuru.
There we go. Uhuru, everyone. My name is Nevel, and I'm a proud member of the African People's Socialist Party, as well as the African National Women's Organization. And I want to welcome you to our beautiful Aquaba Hall for our Black Power Freedom Summer Sunday Rally. And we're thrilled to have you here. And I want to mention too that we're live streaming today's program to our comrades in St. Louis, Missouri. And so let's give a big salute to everyone tuning in. Comrades who are in the motherland, and they are tuning in despite the colonial contradictions that, you know, on our land as it relates to the internet. So let's give a big revolutionary salute to the comrades in Africa. So it's time to get organized. We got institutions like the APSP, the African People's Socialist Party, and we have our beautiful Aquaba Hall. We have the community kitchen. We have Black Power 96.3 radio station, Uhuru Pies, and so much more that's crucial in advancing our struggle for liberation. And in mentioning all of this, I also want to salute our Deputy Chair, Ona Zane Ishitella, who continues to beautify our community. And we're calling on you to support and join us by visiting apspuhuru.org/join. Help us build a branch. Help us build an Uhuru House in your city. And if you don't want to join, if you're not ready yet, volunteer, get involved and see what we're all about. These Sunday rallies kick off every Sunday at 4 p.m. Eastern, right here in St. Petersburg, Florida. And they're powered by the International People's Democratic Uhuru Movement, which is a mass organization founded in 1991, leading the fight for bread, peace, and Black power in the 21st century. Join this movement by visiting https://npdum.org/today. Choose the membership level that works best for you, and I'll be sharing more details about joining and membership later on in the program. But I'm really excited for what we have in store for you today. Today, 2 of the Uhuru 3 will be addressing the people after the historic trial of the century, the historic victory to the Uhuru 3. We're going to begin with an engaging statement from Chair Jesse Nevel, as well as Chairwoman Penny Hess. So grab your pen and pad or pick up a program from the welcome table and take some notes, because we're going to have a brief 10-minute Q&A. And so you know, and if you're in St. Louis, make sure that you come to the podium so that we can see you and address your questions. It's only been days since the historic victory of the trial of the century against the U.S. government. Today's fundraising goal is $250 to help us continue to bring rallies, discussions, powerful films, conferences, and more to the community, keeping the African community involved in political life, which is something that we were violently removed from. Before our keynote speakers approach the podium, I'll be reading the official statement from Chairman Omali Ishitella. We'll have the feature presentations. We'll make our announcements. Hey, cousin. And end with our delicious karamu, which is the Swahili word for feast. So let me take you back to Friday, July 29th, 2022. On that day, the FBI launched the political assault against the African People's Socialist Party, against the broader Uhuru movement, and against
Israel too, we Africa, we are winning. Shout Uhuru for our freedom, we are winning. We'll dance and sing songs when revolutions won, we are winning. Africa's best daughters and sons, we are winning. Long live the liberation of our African nation. Freedom through organization, socialist world of creation. 1 billion strong, yes, we are one. We are winning. Red, black, and green for you and me. We are winning. Won't stop the fight till we are free. We are winning. African workers, we must unite. We are winning. Against white power, the parasite. We are winning. Long live the liberation of our African nation. Freedom through organization, socialist world of creation. 1 billion strong, yes, we are one. We are winning. Viva Iti, who first set us free. We are winning. Carry the torch of Jean-Jacques Dessalines. We are winning. Où peut-être, où les cailles. We are winning. We will rejoice when the colonizers die. We are winning. Long live the liberation of our African nation. Freedom through organization, socialist world of creation. 1 billion strong, yes, we are one. We are winning. Fight like Fannie Lou and Malcolm too. We are winning. Remember our struggle, always be true. We are winning. From Harlem to Brazil to Tanzania, we are winning. We fight and live for a free Africa. We are winning. Long live the liberation of our African nation. Freedom through organization, socialist world of creation. 1 billion strong, yes, we are one. We are winning. Patrice Lumumba's life won't be in vain. We are winning. Keep up the work in Marcus Garvey's name. We are winning. Independent and free is what
and follow orders. This is the FBI. We have a warrant.
They handcuffed me and my wife out here. They wanted me to sit on the curb while they were carrying this out, something that I refused to do. They wanted my wife to sit on the curb out here, that she refused to do.
As I was coming out, this big old drone met me.
The only revolutionary organization that's done something here on the ground practically for African people is the one that's come under attack. Institution that offers a community radio station, a newspaper, a commercial kitchen, an Aquaba Hall rental space, and community office for our organizers. That was the building that has come under attack.
You need a breach? What do you need? Need one. I don't know. Oh, it's all better than money. Don't take it.
We will build a movement of white people that says hands off the Uhuru movement.
They see in the African People's Socialist Party a vanguard for the struggle for the liberation of our people. They see that because not just what we do here in the United States, but because we had the temerity to do like Garvey, to do like Malcolm X, and take the struggle of black people around the world.
Whew, every time I watch that video, I just get more and more ticked off. But then I think about the victory, right? Today, it's my great honor to stand before everybody and to read the official statement from our chairman, Omali Yeshitela. His words are not just a message, they are the guiding light for our movement. A call to action that speaks directly to the heart of our struggle. Chairman Omali Yeshitela has always been a fearless leader, relentlessly fighting for the liberation of African people at home and abroad, and dismantling the systems of colonialism, imperialism, and oppression that have held us down for way too long through dual and contending power. Today, as I share this powerful message with you, I really just wanted to ignite that revolutionary fire inside of each and every one of us. So let's absorb this message, let's channel its energy, and remember, forward ever, backwards never. Uhuru. I'm just imagining his voice. Let me get my. On September 12, 2024, a jury in the federal courthouse in Tampa, Florida, repudiated the more serious charge of the U.S. government's frame-up of the Uhuru 3 by finding myself, along with Penny Hess and Jesse Nevel, not guilty of being agents of the Russian government. The prosecutors unleashed a barrage of lies and distortions of the law, along with deliberately confusing jury instructions to mislead the jury into returning an inconsistent verdict, convicting us on the lesser charge of conspiracy to commit an offense against the United States, which we intend to appeal and are confident we will win. But more importantly, the jury's not guilty verdict on the Russian agent's charge means that the jurors agreed with the legitimacy of our efforts to advocate for the liberation of Africa and African people. We congratulate the jury for their ability to see through the U.S. government's attempt to criminalize criticism by the African liberation movement of U.S. government treatment of African people in the United States. The jury rejected the bogus charge that African people require leadership from Russians or groups characterized as white to define and lead our struggle to end domestic colonialism. We salute the people's multifaceted and ubiquitous movement for anti-colonial free speech and democratic rights, whose tireless and heroic organizing contributed profoundly toward this massive victory. The U.S. government did not intend to lose their case on the charge that the Uhuru movement was working for the Russians. Their political goal was to use the foreign agent charge to deny the legitimacy of the Black liberation movement when we criticized the U.S. government for its treatment of African people. Their charge that we are foreign agents was meant to mute the significance of our criticisms of the killings of Black men and women by police, the mass incarceration of our people, the gentrification and other forms of colonial terror in our community by saying that it was actually the Russians who told us to say it. The U.S. government expended a tremendous amount of resources, at least tens of millions of dollars and hundreds of FBI agents and other government personnel to carry out this sham trial. They stole from our properties at least 13 terabytes of data, the equivalent of 2.5 million books worth of information. They put 14 witnesses on the stand to present their evidence, all of them FBI agents, except for 2 expert witnesses who admitted they knew nothing about our case and claimed they couldn't remember how much the government had paid them to testify. We defeated them without calling any witnesses to the stand. Instead, our incredible legal team used their opening and closing arguments, along with their withering cross-examination of the government's witnesses, to educate the jury about who we are and what our struggle is about. Our attorneys told the jury that Chairman Omali Yeshitela is a revolutionary who is not for sale. We showed evidence of burning spear newspapers and other political documents by our party dating back to the 1970s, illustrating that we have fought for more than 50 years for the liberation of our people. Under cross-examination, one FBI agent after another was forced to admit that there was no evidence that we ever agreed to work under the direction or control of Russia. The lead investigator from the FBI even had to admit under oath that the FBI and the DOJ knowingly lied to the people when they indicted us for election interference, despite the fact that not a shred of evidence of anything of the sort was ever identified. The jury saw right through it and was able to declare that the African People's Socialist Party and Chairman Omali Yeshitela have never worked for the Russians. We have always worked for Black people. This was a political trial. The colonial state's goal was bigger than simply convicting me and putting me in prison. Their failed efforts to convince a jury that we are foreign agents was part of a larger political goal to forever discredit speech by Black people and other colonized peoples against our oppression at the hands of the U.S. government. The U.S. government told the jury that when we demanded reparations to our people, it was the Russians who told us to do that. The jury said no. They told the jury that when we fought to expose and end the genocide against African people in the U.S. and around the world, it was the Russians who told us to do it. The jury said no. They told the jury that when we go around the world to win friends and allies to our struggle for freedom, it was the Russians who made us do that. The jury said no. The U.S. government lied and they lost. We told the truth and we won. The jury saw the evidence presented both by the prosecutors and by our attorneys of more than 5 decades of consistent revolutionary work to free our people from colonial oppression. They saw that we are principled and passionate about freedom. The jury heard me speak through videos of presentations that were screened by both sides. Our legal team was brilliant. We applaud the relentless work by our attorneys, Addie Griffin, Mutaki Akbar, Leonard Goodman, Angela Reedy, and Tom Minsky. Here's what we're calling on everyone to do. 1, submit letters to the judge as we approach our sentencing date scheduled for November 25th, after which we intend to file a motion to appeal the conspiracy conviction. Stay tuned to handsoffuhuru.org in the coming days for more details. 2, make plans to come to Tampa, Florida on November 25th to pack the courthouse for our sentencing hearing. Details will be announced soon. 3, mobilize for a massive anti-colonial free speech mobilization in Washington, D.C. on November 2nd, 2024, the annual Black People's March on the White House, sponsored by the Black is Back Coalition for Social Justice, Peace, and Reparations. This will be an anti-colonial march led by Africans, Mexicans, Palestinians, Indigenous, Filipino, and other colonized peoples. 4, continue to stand with the Uhuru movement and African liberation struggle. Support, protect, and defend our dual power programs for the African working class economic development and self-determination. Continue to donate to the Hands Off Uhuru Legal Defense Fund at handsoffuhuru.com/donate. That's 5. 6, finally, the most important thing you can do right now is to inform the world that the U.S. government lied and lost. The Uhuru movement told the truth and won. The verdict is in. Chairman Omali Yeshitela and the African People's Socialist Party are not for sale. We have our own agency. We are our own liberators. We don't work for the Russians. We work for Black people. And we will continue to do so until all African people and the oppressed peoples of the world are free. Uhuru! That's wonderful. Brothers, sisters, comrades, young comrades, let me introduce a revolutionary leader who embodies the spirit of solidarity and resistance. Chair Jesse Nevel is here, standing at the front lines of the Uhuru Solidarity movement, a force that mobilizes white people to reject colonialism. Under the leadership of the African People's Socialist Party, Jesse has boldly declared, we will no longer be complicit in the oppression of African people. His leadership is a call to action, a rallying cry to every single one of us to turn against the ruling class, to demand reparations, and to fight for the liberation of Africa and all oppressed peoples worldwide. He's one of the Uhuru Three. The US government tried to silence him with the indictments, but here he stands, unbroken and unapologetically revolutionary. The time for revolution is now. We stand with Jesse Nevel because he fights for a world free from imperialism, where every voice is heard and every life is valued. Introducing Chair Jesse Nevel.
Uhuru. Wow, that was very powerful. I want to salute Comrade Jainaba and some round of applause. That was a magnificent delivery of the statement. I definitely felt the chairman's presence up here and how you delivered that to Comrade Jainaba. Thank you so much. And just want to salute you and salute the International People's Democratic Uhuru movement, and just give a heartfelt salute to Jainaba, to Chimaranga, to Director Akile and Tomwe, Lucky, Marcus, and to be here in the Uhuru House. And just what an honor it is, just a tremendous, profound honor to stand here in this historic headquarters of African revolutionary struggle here in the city of African resistance in St. Petersburg, Florida. And I also want to salute the Chairman Omali Yeshitela, and that powerful statement that was just read from the chairman, and the leadership and the courage that the chairman represents. And throughout this whole struggle, but throughout more than 60 years that he has given his life to the liberation of Africa and African people. One of the things that attorney Mataki Akbar said a couple of days ago on the day of the verdict, somebody asked him about the precedent that was set by this trial and by the charges that they brought against the Uhuru movement and by the verdict. And Mutaki made the very correct statement that the real precedent that was set is what can happen when you have the courage to stand up to the colonial state, to the US government. And that precedent was set by Chairman Omali Yeshitela.
Yes, Uhuru.
I also want to salute Deputy Chair Onizane Yeshitela, who equally embodies that revolutionary courage and determination, and who was, as many people know, on the day of those raids, was with Chairman Omali Yeshitela sitting at their kitchen table at 5 o'clock in the morning. They were up and ready to go to work. And that morning, Deputy Chair was preparing to get in her car and drive to the Uhuru House in North St. Louis to preside over a training of 14 African women who were trained to become doulas, birth workers, to address the genocidal infant and maternal mortality rates imposed on African women and babies and families in this country. And Deputy Chair herself could not personally make it to the Uhuru House due to the raids, due to the violent FBI invasion of their home, and the fact that she was handcuffed and Chairman Omali was handcuffed in front of their home. But it is a testament to Deputy Chair's leadership and who she is in this world, that doula training still happened on the morning of July 29th. And that was a foreshadowing of what she's done every day since. Everything that she is responsible for in building political and economic power in the hands of African people has not only did it not slow down, but it sped up, it deepened, it expanded in the 2 years after those raids. So I want to salute Deputy Chair. And I also want to salute Chairwoman Penny Hess, who you'll be able to hear from in just a few minutes after I wrap this up. And I met Chairwoman Penny 15 years ago in Sarasota, Florida. That was my first experience with the Uhuru movement, was hearing Chairwoman Penny speak and hearing for the first time the truth about white people and who we are and what we've done to African people and to indigenous people and colonized peoples, and the way forward, how we can take responsibility for that, how we can join the human family through uniting with the righteous struggles of African and colonized peoples to regain and recapture power over their own lives. And that stand of solidarity is the essence of white people's reparations to African people. And that's what Chairwoman Penny, under the leadership of the chairman, has been about for 50 years. She's been that unbroken example of principled solidarity, even in the face of this bogus prosecution and the threat of imprisonment. I look to Chairwoman Penny. I look to the chairman for the model of what courage and revolutionary optimism looks like. So I want to salute Chairwoman Penny Hess. And I also want to shout out our lawyers. They were brilliant, and they were under the leadership and training of the greatest revolutionary lawyer to walk the earth, which is Chairman Omali Yeshitela. They really embraced that leadership. They did an amazing job. And I mean, you could see in the courtroom, African internationalism went up to the podium every time one of our lawyers went up there, and the US government didn't stand a chance. So it was incredible. We really salute all of them. And I wanted to say a few things quickly about what happened over this week-long trial that was supposed to be a month long. And as the chairman said, why was it only a week? Because the US government ran out of ammo. They've been preparing for this for years. This is a years-long investigation that they've been conducting into the Uhuru movement. They did these, huge military-style FBI raids. They used hundreds of FBI agents, not just FBI, St. Petersburg Police, St. Louis Police, Springfield Police, regional police agencies, SWAT team, flashbang grenades, battering rams, drones, assault rifles, handcuffs, armored vehicles. They raided 7 homes and properties. Then they took tons of stuff. They took tons of archives, electronics, computers. They subpoenaed all of our Google accounts and Facebook accounts and Yahoo accounts and iCloud accounts and everything under the sun. They compiled 13 terabytes of so-called evidence, the equivalent, as the chairman's statement noted, to 2.5 million books worth of information, and they lost. After all of that. What happened over the course of the trial was that the US government called to the stand 14 witnesses. 12 of them were FBI agents, and one after another, the FBI agents got up there and lied through their teeth about, the Uhuru movement somehow working under the direction and control of Russia. But then it came time for cross-examination. And our lawyers went up there and mercilessly cross-examined these FBI agents and gave them no choice but to admit under oath that in all the 13 terabytes of data, in all the electronics and computers and files and emails that they had seized, had they been able to find one email, one text message, one piece of evidence, just one, showing that Chairman Omali Yeshitela had ever agreed to operate under the direction and control of the Russian government? And they had to say no. They were asked, did you find any evidence that the Uhuru movement participated in any election interference in St. Petersburg, Florida in 2017 or 2019? And they said no. And then they were asked, well, then why did the Department of Justice release a press release on July 29th saying that these people had been indicted or were going to be indicted for participating in election interference? And the FBI agent said, well, I don't work on the press releases. So our attorney said, well, what about the indictment? Did you consult with the Department of Justice on the indictment? She said, yes. And she said, okay, so you're saying that you knowingly worked with the Department of Justice to issue an indictment, to publish an indictment that stated, that alleged that these people had engaged in election interference, even though you knew at the time there was no evidence of that. And she said, yes. So they knowingly lied to the people of this country that there was no evidence when they made this indictment, when they made this press release, and that was all exposed by, as the chairman said, the withering cross-examination that these agents were subject to over the course of this week-long trial. They called 14 witnesses. We called none. We called no witnesses. Instead, Chairman Omali Yeshitela was able to testify without taking to the stand because our attorneys introduced into evidence videos of the chairman speaking, copies of the Burning Spear newspaper going back to 1969, showing that the African People's Socialist Party and Chairman Omali Yeshitela have opposed not just the U.S. support of the war against Russia, but every single U.S. war against anyone. Throughout the entire time period that the African People's Socialist Party has been in existence, they have consistently opposed every U.S. war. That the Uhuru movement has consistently fought for reparations to African people before this guy in Russia, or me for that matter, were even born. That they had consistently advocated for an end to the genocide against African people for longer than the guy in Russia had even been alive. And the FBI agents had to admit to that every step of the way. They had to admit, they were asked, is Chairman Omali Yeshitela for sale? No, the FBI agent had to say. So we put on no witnesses. The jury had the opportunity to hear about who the party is, who the chairman is, who the Uhuru movement is, and who we have been for the entirety of the party's existence. And based on that, we won. And like the chairman said, the jury was able to agree that Chairman Omali Yeshitela is not for sale, that African people have their own voice, have their own agency, have their own sovereignty, and that no Russian or anybody else has to tell African people to fight for their liberation. And that was a powerful and profound victory, and a powerful and profound defeat for the United States government, a humiliating and horrible defeat for the United States government. And we should have no confusion about that, because there's a lot of media coverage going out right now, including another dishonest press release from the Department of Justice stating that the Uhuru Three and Chairman Omali were convicted of conspiring to act as Russian agents, of Russia without notifying the Attorney General's office. But what they leave out is that the Uhuru Three were found not guilty of what? Acting as Russian agents without notifying the Attorney General's office. So some commentators have referred to this as a mixed verdict. And legally, it is a mixed verdict. But what the chairman has helped us to understand is that it may have been a mixed verdict, but it was an absolute and total victory. Yes. Because the U.S. government's plan was not to go in after all they put into this hundreds of millions of dollars and hundreds of FBI agents and all of that. Their plan, their intention was not to go in with the main charge against the chairman being that he's a Russian agent and lose on that charge. And the chairman has made sure we understand the significance of this is not just that it was the more serious charge in terms of the fact that it carried a larger prison sentence. The significance of it being the more serious charge is that it was the foundational charge of the whole prosecution. And it was the foundational charge that was intended not just to give the U.S. government the ability to lock up the chairman, but the ability to lock up the chairman and to discredit and delegitimize the struggle of African people for liberation by saying that when African people criticize the U.S. government, use speech to criticize the U.S. government, to criticize police murders, to criticize gentrification, to criticize mass incarceration, to call out genocide, to demand reparations, that it's actually the Russians behind the scenes telling them to do that. And the jury rebuked that. The jury took that away from them because Chairman Omali Yeshitela took that away from them. And that is an incredible victory that we have to make sure the whole world is clear on that. So that's one thing I wanted to say. And just to wrap up, I think that it was really powerful to see in the Tampa Bay Times, which is generally speaking not a friendly newspaper to the truth and to the Uhuru movement. They reported what happened on the day the verdict came out. They said that when the verdict was read, that the defendants showed no immediate reaction. And then Chairman Omali and the Uhuru Three, as they put it, as the Tampa Bay Times put it, strode out of the courtroom on the arms of their family and supporters. And Chairman Omali Yeshitela lifted his fist high above his head and shouted out, "Relentless," and was met with jubilant cries of Uhuru, the Swahili word for freedom. I guarantee you the prosecution was not walking out of that courtroom with jubilant cries of anything. Maybe some cries, but not jubilant cries of anything. The chairman said our lawyers were a dream team that was a nightmare for the prosecution. And that was absolutely true. So what comes next is there will be a sentencing hearing on November 25th. And we look forward to waging the campaign under the hands-off crew and chairman's leadership to get these letters written, to continue the counteroffensive in the streets, to continue the political fight back, so that the next victory we have is that Chairman Omali Yeshitela walks out of that sentencing hearing and doesn't see 1 day, 1 hour, 1 minute, 1 second behind bars. That will be the next time. That will be the next time we walk out of that same courthouse with jubilant cries of Uhuru, the Swahili word for freedom. And after that, we will continue to go forward with appealing this inconsistent and incoherent verdict on the conspiracy charge. And that is going to be another win. The jury helped us out with that a lot by completely invalidating the conspiracy conviction by saying, no, these people are not working for Russia. They work for Black people. So our lawyers will be filing a motion to appeal the bogus conspiracy conviction. We're very confident that we can beat that, not just because we have great lawyers, but because of the movement of the people on the ground that is going to keep fighting and keep winning. So finally, I just want to say that as a member of the African People's Solidarity Committee and the chair of the Uhuru Solidarity Movement, that I want to express and reaffirm my commitment to go forward under the leadership of Chairman Omali Yeshitela, under the direct leadership of Chairwoman Penny Hess, to do the most important thing that we have to do as white people right now, which is to hugely intensify our work to build white solidarity with Black power. One of the things the U.S. government intended to do, in addition to delegitimizing the struggle of African people and the speech and expression of African people against this government, they attempted to criminalize white solidarity with Black power. They attempted to use Chairwoman Penny Hess and myself as examples for other white people to say, don't go that way. Don't leave the lynch mob. Don't end your complicity. Don't refuse to be complicit with the genocide because you might end up there. And the example that was set by Chairman Omali Yeshitela and the victory of the Uhuru 3 is one that we should use to inspire and embolden thousands and hundreds of thousands of millions of white people to swell the ranks of the Uhuru Solidarity Movement. That's the task we have ahead of us right now. Build the movement for reparations to African people, build the movement for white solidarity with Black power, and uphold the example of Chairman Omali Yeshitela and uphold the example of Chairwoman Penny Hess, that white solidarity with Black power will never be silenced. African people will be free. African people will win. Colonialism must go. Uhuru.
Uhuru, I really just want to salute Chair Jesse, for that incredible presentation. And I was there at the trial. And for those who don't know, Jesse, your uncle, he was the defense lawyer for, was it Stokely Carmichael?
During the Freedom Summer.
During Freedom Summer. And so, being an Uhuru baby, which means growing up in the Uhuru house, and we've got an Uhuru baby in the back, and we got some Uhuru babies right here. What that means is that, African and colonized people have a chance to grow up without this terrible colonial experience with white people. To be able to see so many of these people call themselves progressives, and they're not. People on the left, and white people, chairmen say left on their own, they would always get it wrong. And it's true. Growing up under the leadership of the African People's Socialist Party and having exposure to white people who want to stand on the right side of the question, want to join as a part of humanity, has allowed me to grow up with the understanding of, you know, why the anti-colonial struggle is so important. And, you know, it's just something that I think is extremely powerful. So I want to introduce Chairwoman Penny Hess, who I've known since I was a Uhuru baby, and has dedicated her life to solidarity with African liberation. If you know her work, you know she's been leading white people to take a stand against colonialism and fight for reparations to African people for over 40 years. Under the leadership of Chairman Omali Yeshitela and the African People's Socialist Party, Penny's worked relentlessly to overturn the culture of violence. That's the title even of her book. Overturning the exploitation and the oppression that has plagued African and colonized people for centuries. She's not just talking the talk. Penny is out here mobilizing, organizing, and leading with conviction that white solidarity with Black power is the only path to justice, to freedom. She led the charge on campaigns like Unity Through Reparations, challenging white people to understand that reparations isn't charity, it's justice. Her fire, her passion, dedication, this is the energy of revolution. So if you're ready to stand, I'm talking to the white people, if you're ready to stand on the right side of history, if you're watching, and you're ready to join the fight for African liberation, then you're in the right place. Let's give it up for the powerhouse herself, Chairwoman Penny Hess. Everybody, Uhuru here, and thank you so much. Thank you so much, Jaina, for the introduction. Really a powerful presentation, Comrade Jesse. And I did want to say that before I talk about Chairman Omali Yeshitela, from whom everything that I understand about the world came from, but I wanted to say that Comrade Jainaba is an Uhuru baby, but more than that, is from the pedigree of the leadership of the Uhuru movement. On her mother's side, from directly a descendant of Chairman Omali Yeshitela, and on her father's side, you know, Biko Lumumba, who was a powerful, incredible leader of the Uhuru movement, of the African People's Socialist Party, who unfortunately passed away way too young, but who must be remembered because I see him, you know, in you as well. And so I just really want to remember when you were just here, and but I do want to salute my incredible leadership, Chairman Omali Yeshitela, Deputy Chair Onizine Yeshitela, and the African People's Socialist Party, under whose leadership I have worked under their direct leadership since 1976, when I was recruited by the chairman to join the African People's Solidarity Committee when it was first formed. And I do want everybody to be aware that the chairman does speak all over the world. He is known and he is loved in many, many places on this planet. And we always say that the chairman would speak if there were 600 people or if there were 6 people, because he believes in every single person and uplifts every person and enables us all to reach our highest self. He is a true leader and he is a true son of Africa. And it's been so profound to have been organized under his leadership for all of these years, and to watch one man go up against the counter currents
the winds of what they call counterinsurgency, which is what they did to the party in this attack. This is counterinsurgency, US government attacks on an organization or an individual who is fighting for the liberation and revolutionary leadership of an oppressed and colonized people. They use what they call counterinsurgency, any means whatsoever to crush a movement. But as our attorney Mutaki said, it's too late.
Yes.
You can put the chairman in prison, which you're not going to do, but you won't stop this movement because the chairman has taken it around the world. Say, you know, that the courage of the chairman, the courage of being one person, you know, with forming the party, who would stand up everywhere, doesn't care where, he would organize every person as, you know, possible to become a member, to stand on the forward side of history. So, yeah, and I want to also join in saluting Deputy Chair Onizine Shatella, who is a powerful leader in the African People's Socialist Party, who is responsible for building and putting on the ground the various institutions of dual and contending power, as Janova spoke about, that we see, such as the Uhuru House, and in St. Louis, for example, where they built a basketball court and a doula program, as Jesse talked about. African Women's Center is in the works right now. African Independence Workforce Program for African people forced into this colonial prison system, which is the largest prison system in the world based on the majority of people being in prison, African people forced into the colonial prison system for things that white people are never even indicted for, generally speaking. And I can only say that this has been an amazing journey to stand on this forward side of history, to learn, as the chairman calls on us to do, to begin to see the world through the eyes of the African working class, and therefore the majority of oppressed and colonized peoples on the planet Earth. I am the chair of the African People's Solidarity Committee, the organization of white people formed by the chairman under his leadership, and with the responsibility to go into the white community and say what the chairman says in our own words, to organize other white people to recognize that our greatest interest is to jump off this pedestal upon which we sit on the backs of African and indigenous people and join in solidarity, therefore, with all of the oppressed and struggling people on the planet Earth. And a lot of white people are looking for that. I just saw today that the third white young man burnt himself to death based on wanting to take a stand on what US imperialism and US brutal colonial wars are, you know, that they're implementing against in Gaza and Palestine, against African people here and all around the world. And I want to say to white people, and I feel that, yes, that is a courageous stand,
Yes.
but it is not necessary, because you can join the African People's Solidarity Committee and thereby end our self-imposed isolation from the rest of the world and feel that in such a profound way. So I wanted to say that we want to win that. We want to win all the white people that we can. And we're out there, we're going to be on tour, you know, soon. Again, we're going to go around and we're going to talk to as many people as possible. Oh, that's the chairman. Let me see if he wants to say something. Yeah. Uhuru chairman, I'm assuming, did you want to say something? Oh, I'm speaking at the rally. I thought maybe you wanted to say something.
No, I can't say anything.
Pardon me? Yes, I'm speaking. I'm at the podium. Okay. Uhuru. So here's some things that I wanted to say. That it's really clear from this trial, this attack, that the chairman cannot be bought. He has agency. African people have agency. They have their own. No Russian ever told them anything about what the conditions are. The chairman has defined colonialism as the main problem, the main contradiction facing African people here inside the United States and around the world, and that is really important because he has just totally wiped out the idea that racism is the problem, that the ideas in white people's heads are the problem, and that colonialism means that the state, with the instruments of state power, such as the police, the prisons, the courts, everything that we're facing right now, that this movement is facing, this is colonialism. It is state power that oppresses African people, not the ideas in white people's heads. Racism is based on, it is the ideas of colonialism, but to change the conditions, as the chairman has always said since the 1970s, African people have to fight against colonialism and for power, for political and economic power in their own hands. And when African people have power, white people will change their thoughts in their heads and will be able to also support an anti-colonial struggle. The chairman has said it's a struggle against colonialism, not fascism.
Right.
And that, as the chairman has explained, fascism is when white people begin to experience some of the conditions that African people face under colonialism every single day.
Right.
And it is not, suddenly that we see certain kinds of repression coming down and we say, oh, it's fascism. But the fact is, colonialism is deep and, unending oppression every day. But it was the chairman that took the question of reparations to African people and made it a household word in 1979, 1980, 1982, the first tribunal on reparations to African people. That's really, really important to say, because his understanding that the chairman has put out of what the chairman calls the colonial mode of production, A mode of production is how something is produced. And what the chairman is saying by that term, and it's really important for us in the white community to internalize that and understand it, because what the chairman is saying is that colonialism, or the oppression of African people and others, it's not a policy, it's not a passing phase, it's not an idea. It is actually how everything in this society was formed and is built every single day. It's how the economy works. That the capitalism and America itself was built on Europe, coming out of Europe, going into Africa, and kidnapping African human beings for 600 years in what was the greatest economic boom ever to hit Europe, ever to do that. And that's what created the wealth, and that the land of the Americas is stolen land. It still belongs to the indigenous people. And that, that goes from Alaska to the tip of Chile to all the islands in the Caribbean. They still belong to the indigenous people, and white people carried out genocide against the indigenous people, and that we have to take responsibility and acknowledge that. And so, but the chairman is the one who's given this clarity to us, and that, again, I just want to say also that the chairman has revolutionary fitness. As you can see, the chairman's like in powerful shape, and I wanted to be able to show the picture that was in the New York Times of the chairman with rippling, muscles and everything, just taken the other day. I don't know.
I think we have that. Amanda, do we have that picture?
Well, we have, I guess we have to put it down, but anyway, I just think that that is really, you know, just part of who the chairman is, that, you know, just, they have the African pledge, which says, I pledge to develop my mind and body to the greatest extent possible to forward the struggle of African people. The chairman has developed his mind and body to the ultimate extent, to forward the struggle. That's who Chairman Nevel is. So, you know, again, I want to say to the white people that we do have to jump in. We have to say we will not let the state take Chairman Nevel or myself or Jesse, because that's part of the attack on me. We can't do that. We have to jump in. We have to be out there winning and building the membership of the Uhuru Solidarity Movement and the African People's Solidarity Committee. We've got to forward the media. We've got to have events. And I appreciate Comrade Jamie, who's here, who leads the Uhuru Solidarity Movement here in St. Pete. And all the comrades that are here right now. So I want to say that it is powerful to be on the winning side.
Oh, there he is.
Okay, yeah, here's a picture that was in the New York Times. You can see that. This was just taken on August 31st at the rally by New York Times. So, you know, I'm really glad they had that picture, because that was like, yes, that was powerful. So, yeah, so Uhuru, we are winning. Just keep, you know, looking at handsoffuhuru.org. We have the sentencing on the 25th, but we want to be done with everything before then. And, you know, kick the ass of the ruling class, and it really feels good to do that. So, yeah, so join, become a member of Uhuru Solidarity Movement, work under the leadership of the African Revolution, Chairman Omali Shatella, be on the winning side. We are winning.
Uhuru, we are winning. Comrades, we really standing on the front lines for a critical battle for our freedom, our dignity, and our future. While, you know, donating money and things are vital to the movement, the struggle really requires so much more. You know, more than money, we need your time, we need your energy, we need your presence, and we need your commitment to build wherever we are. The rallies like the one that we're having today, it's powerful, but it doesn't happen by accident. It takes a lot of work. You know, Comrade Kenge is always working diligently to make sure that we are organized. Let's give Comrade Kenge a big round of applause. And people like you and me coming together to organize and educate and mobilize our communities to build the Chairwoman. We want to continue to build. So if you have food, you know, bring some food. Let us all, you know, make this rally something that we can, you know, and you know, I got dressed today. You know, I want us to see us, you know, the same energy that on Sunday mornings that, you know, people bring all around the city, around the nation, whether they're going to church or wherever. I want us to make that a reality here. Freedom Summer, I want the same for Freedom Summer. We all need to really come together and build, bring everyone. I'm so happy to see my little cousin. You know, he was singing the African national fight song, and it's so important and relevant because so many of our children get inundated with just the most garbage types of music and demoralizing, self-humiliating types of information. And so, you know, this is why we need, you know, boots on the ground and voices in the streets and hands willing to do the work. Cousin, can you come and help me by passing around the bucket and the basket? And we're gonna pass around this basket, but like I said, we're asking you to go beyond the donation. Sign up, put your name on the sign up sheet so that you can join us in this fight. And when we say fight, we're not talking, you know, we're not saying to get the strap. Yeah, not yet. Not saying to get the strap, but we're asking you to lend your skills. You know, sisters can braid hair. Those are opportunities for education. Every moment is an opportunity for political education. If you can sing, if you write poetry, all of those things can be lent to the people. So I really wanted to just, bring that up. And earlier today, the African National Women's Organization had a discussion that was live streamed on YouTube that said, "We are African because we say we are," which is incredible. And I want to salute President of the African National Women's Organization, Yejide Oromila, who really, she stands at the forefront for a global struggle for the liberation of African women, Black women. She is just, she dismantles these systems of colonial oppression and these ideas that target African women. And there's a special oppression of African women. There's an incredible document that the party published called The Special Oppression of African Women. And under her leadership, AMWO has become a powerful movement that uplifts the voices of Black African women, asserting our right to lead revolutionary change in the conditions that keep us oppressed. She's inspiring women from the US, Europe, South America. You know, sometimes I'll be translating, how to fight for freedom in Spanish, because if we think about even these different languages, these are all colonizer languages. It's African and Africa speaking French right now. It's Black people in South America speaking Spanish, and I'm over here speaking English. And these are not our languages. I could go on, but it's really Yejide's passion for political education, and she's so creative. She makes shea butter, and she doesn't just call it something arbitrary. It's called decolonase, and I love that. You know what I mean? So when I'm using my decolonase, it's just everything becomes a revolutionary act, and that's a beautiful thing because we as African women, we are fly and creative, and that's just how we do it. So, and the point of we are African because we say we are, it really brings up the fact of Africa, because it's always like, why Africa? Why y'all talk about Africa? Is it just this that's the motherland and, all of these things? But what the African People's Socialist Party teaches us is that even though we don't see it, we are participating in what's called, Chairman says, the colonial mode of production. When I wake up in my house or my apartment, girl, I used to pay rent and pay a mortgage to these same colonial banks. Even the threat of your existence, you have to go to these colonial jobs. You gotta, Jeff Bezos got you riding around all over the dang city. The Instacart got you running up, you gotta get your car serviced just so you can make, a couple deliveries for people at their convenience. These white people convenience. You gotta go in and be their cooks. You used to just be a nurse's assistant, now you're certified nurse's assistant. So now you gotta wipe white people booties with a certificate. You can't just walk up in there like you used to. And all of these things contribute to the colonial mode of production, because all of the resources that they're taking from the Congo to get the cobalt and the coltan and the tin and all of these minerals, they got Black people, African people working in the mines in the Congos, getting the cocoa, getting all these things. Then they take it, have us in the manufacturing plant processing all of this stuff. Then they ship it wherever we are, whether that's in Europe. Then now they got the Hershey's people in Europe. Now you got you packaging you in the warehouse with boxes of the chocolate that they took from Africa. You working in Apple. You think you got a good job. All you're doing is being the hand for these people, helping to funnel all of your birthright into the hands of some teenage white girl who is screaming at her daddy because she wants something new, or just this constant consuming of Africa, just this parasitic relationship to Africa. And the reason it's so important for us to identify as Africans is not just because it's cute, it's because it will completely help you identify that this is my birthright. My value is not in this domestic colony. My value lies in all of the trillions of dollars that are at home. They took us. A lot of people don't believe that, and that's fine. But they took us. They took the diamond, they still taking the diamond. They got a ship with a vacuum on the bottom, just sucking up diamonds on the bottom of that. They have pictures of holes in the ground. There are wounds in our mother. And they said, you know, some of the Africans, well, they sold the Africans in the, I've been to Africa. They are calling us to come back home. Because there's a saying that when you take that, and I heard this on the live stream, that when a child is taken from his mother, it's not just the child that suffers. The mother is suffering. Africa took a big hit when they took us up and scooped us and spread us out to the Caribbean islands, as they call them, and into Europe, into North America. That left Africa depleted. So, you know, we totally reject this idea that we're a hyphenated African. We're not just Black, you know. We have to, the same way Asian people can tie back to their national homeland, we have a national homeland too. And if an African from Nigeria tells you that you're not an African, or an African in Cameroon, or a white person in North America tells you you're not African, just know that colonialism comes in different forms. And a lot of people are suffering. They just don't know, baby. But don't let Africa go, okay? Don't let your mama go. Africa. That's Swahili term. That means Africa is our land. And it is. So the liberation struggle is not just a spectator sport. You know, so if you're ready to do more, you want to take the next step, go to APSP/join. We want to hear from you, connect with the local chapter. Let's start building this movement in every city. We need a Uhuru House everywhere. We got it in South Africa. We need more in Kenya. If you're watching in Kenya, go ahead and connect with us, apspuhuru.org/join, because I'm going to be at the other end of that. I'm going to be checking to see who's coming in. I'm going to be the one that's forwarding that information in, because I don't just work on, you know, as the MC. I work behind the scenes as well to make sure that everything is helping to go where they need to go, so we can get organized and we can get people, you know, where they need to be. So we have a 10-minute question and answer session. And I wanted to open that up. Did we also have from St. Louis? No? Well, we want to open it up. Does anyone have any questions that they want to ask the Uhuru 3, whether that be about the legal team, about the next steps, what they've heard in the newspapers, anything that they've seen? Can you come up to and grab the mic? Just pick up the mic out of the thing, and then state your name, and then, yeah.
Uhuru, my name is Marcus Wall.
Uhuru, Marcus.
To the Uhuru 3.
Uhuru.
My only question I got, because I'm still kind of confused, is is the other charge of misdemeanor? It's still a felony? Okay, that was my question. I just confused. They had a felony, a misdemeanor, a felony. I just had never heard.
Yeah.
That was my question. I was being nervous.
Well, no, that's important. You can use that. Yeah, there you go. And then if you got a question too, go ahead and approach the podium. Yeah, and the question was, what is the charge? The charge is considered a felony. The conspiracy charge is considered a felony charge, but we're going to appeal that. Uhuru.
Yes. Uhuru, my name is Ntambwe Bekizika.
Uhuru.
I'm one of those Uhuru babies as well.
That's right.
The attorneys did, I mean, it was incredible. Even though I could not be there during all the proceedings of the trial, because I was listed as a witness, so you can't be in the room. But when they released us, we ran up there. It was amazing just to see the closing arguments, and just to really get a sense of the jury, and there was no way that they could fit on acting as agents. That was some crap. But my question was, I know it was a little shaky for the judge, who was saying that this is a unfamiliar, situation charge or whatever, and they didn't have any guidelines. So since they did give us a sentencing date, did the guideline, did they figure out what they, nothing yet? Yeah, that was it.
Maybe Jesse, you can come in and approach the podium so that others can hear.
Thank you, Tom. What you said is correct. Yeah, the charge is so rare and unusual to have. It's not like there's a whole bunch of previous cases of people being convicted of conspiring to act as agents of Russia, but acquitted of acting as agents of Russia. So there's no sentencing guidelines, which is a good thing because it means there's no minimum sentence recommendation. So that's why the goal is to go into that sentencing hearing and have Chairman O'Malley and the Uhuru 3 walk out with not a day, with a sentence of not 1 day in prison. Yeah.
Not just personally invested, because that's my granddaddy, all right? But I can't even allow that. So just let's go through some of the announcements. Handsoffahuru.org. Sign up for alerts, please. We got the 16th annual Black People's March on the White House, and that's going to be in Washington, D.C. on November 2nd. And Los Angeles. And in Los Angeles. If you're on the West Coast, it's also in Los Angeles. And we're, we work together. We socialists over here. So if you need a ride, if you need, whatever you need, let us know so we can help make that happen, because there's no reason why anybody should be left behind. The Uhuru movement, Freedom Summer, community rallies right here every Sunday at the Uhuru House, 1245 18th Avenue South, St. Petersburg, Florida. If you need, if you're not local and you're gonna be in this area, come and join and come and be a part of these rallies. If you have food, if you can cook, bring the food, plates, forks, all of those things. If you know how to bake a good pie, bring that on. Publix knows how to bake it. If you want to just go and buy a Publix pie, bring it over. We got a Uhuru pie. Bring it over, all right? This is, I really want to make this the most dynamic Sunday rally that we can, because it means a lot to me. We need to make the revolution cool again, all right? That's why I got dressed up. Look at this, y'all. Come on now. I'm ready for revolution. What an incredible gathering we've had. We've heard our presentations. They were incredibly powerful. We had the history of the party, the history and mission of the African People's Solidarity movement. And it's just, we're really reminded of the ongoing struggle for our democratic rights and the importance of really staying vigilant and united and disciplined. I have to salute everybody who was at the trial, because we were disciplined. Whatever they said, we were oh my gosh, we were gonna win this, because we came in with a level of discipline. Whatever King said, she's like, don't wear this, don't do that. We weren't doing it, So we stand shoulder to shoulder with the African People's Socialist Party, united in the fight against colonialism and imperialism, no matter if they're touching us here in South St. Pete or if they're touching us in South Sudan. We are not here just as individuals, but a collective force. And that's gonna lead to some radical transformation, all right? So I think it's time, I know everybody's waiting on the caribou to start, but it's really time, it's time for, all those half measures, all that's over with. The vision is clear. Total liberation of Africa and African people, worldwide, an end to colonialism. We reject neo-colonialism. We reject capitalism that continues to plunder our resources. We just talked about the chocolate, the diamonds, and exploiting our labor. We're not going to be used as the engines for white global wealth while our communities suffer and starve, we're gonna reclaim what is rightfully ours. And we're not waiting for permission. I'm not asking for reform, we building Black power. We taking control of our destiny. Freedom Summer. We're forging a future where Africa can be free, unified, thriving, but under a socialist African banner. In solidarity with the African People's Socialist Party as a member, I'm committed to this revolutionary path. I know that our victory, just like in this trial, the victory for Africa is inevitable. So as we prepare to leave today, let's not forget that this is just the beginning. I want us to all raise our voices in unity. We're gonna send a message. Hands off Uhuru, hands off Africa, and after that, we're gonna leave with Izweletu. When I say Izweletu, you say E Africa, and when I say E Africa, you say Izweletu. Hands off Uhuru, hands off Africa, hands off Uhuru, hands off Izweletu, E Africa, E Africa, Uhuru. So let's go ahead and continue the celebration of unity and strength. We're gonna indulge in the karamu, which is a Swahili word for feast. We're gonna talk together, we're gonna build the bond, share some stories, and keep the spirit of Uhuru alive in everything we do. Uhuru!